Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where in the world you're signing in from today. I know it's, I think, certainly coast to coast in North America, but I think I saw a couple of Europeans on the list as well. So really do appreciate all of you taking the time to be with us. I'm joined today by Breanne Beh, President and CEO of Angus Gold. Breanne, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So here's how today's going to work. Breanne's going to lead us off with a presentation today, followed by a couple of questions from me, and then we are going to jump to questions from the live audience. So today's event is interactive. There's a chat button on the bottom right of your screen. I really do encourage you to click on it and ask questions at any time during today's event. I will, if possible, weave them into the conversation, but otherwise we'll try to tackle them towards the end of today's event. If for whatever reason I don't get to your question today, and it's certainly possible, it's based on time or any other reason, I am going to make sure that the Angus team gets those questions, the full transcript of the event right after, so they'll be able to follow up with you. For whatever reason we don't get to your question today. Last piece of housekeeping before I throw it to Breanne. Today's event is being recorded and will be available for replay. Should be available before end of day today, Eastern time. It'll come right in your inbox and will be shared on both YouTube, but also 6.com on our events page. That's enough out of me. I'm going to shoot it to Breanne for our presentation, get into the protein of today's event.
All right, thanks. So I'll start with a little bit of a broad overview of Angus, who we are and where we're operating, just for any new folks in the room, and I think there may be a few. So throughout this presentation, I'll be making forward-looking statements. Okay, so company highlights. In terms of the leadership team of Angus, we have past executives from Barrick Gold and Richmont Mines on the board of directors. We also have a number of current executives from the Probe Gold team. And I think Angus really takes its exploration philosophy kind of from the Probe team. That's how I fit into the story as well. So, at this point, responsible for 2 multi-million ounce gold discoveries, the Borden Mine discovery, and then currently the Novador project, which has been pushed above 10 million ounces in the Quebec region. In terms of the Angus land package, though, the Golden Sky project, it's situated in the Wawa Gold Camp of Ontario. The project's generally located between the West Dome Eagle River Mine and the Alamos Island Gold Mine. We have consolidated 290 square kilometers, and it's the first time that this land package has been consolidated under one operator. And I think this is really one of the reasons this land package has gone so underexplored. Despite the fact that we sit really, adjacent to the Eagle River Mine, between the mine and the mill that processes that ore. The haul road that accesses the mine goes right through the center of our land package. So just, really great access to infrastructure. The deposits in the region, typically multi-million ounce deposits. Our project itself at this point has 2 more advanced gold targets that we're working on. So the Banded Iron Formation Gold Zone is an Angus Gold discovery that we made back in 2021. At this point, we have extended that to 1 kilometer of strike length that's been defined, of near surface mineralization, in a lot of cases actually outcropping at surface. And then we've got the Dorset Gold Zone that was, at the time when we acquired the project, a historic resource had been done in 2007, which was about 200,000 ounces. And we have now more than doubled the strike length of this deposit area. And that's kind of the focus of today's press release. And then, all the while we're working on these 2 areas, we've got this huge land package still. So we're running grassroots exploration programs every summer, trying to, find new areas of interest. And we are just stumbling over great new exploration targets that, as a geologist, I'd be excited to explore as standalones, but it's all wrapped into one land package. And then last thing is our treasury. So at this point, we sit with about $6 million in the bank. We are fully funded to complete all our work till the end of 2025. And this is thanks in large part to a strategic investment that was made by West Dome in early 2024. So I think, just a vote of confidence from our neighbor in terms of the quality of work that we're doing. Just a quick snapshot here of the district. So a lot of big names operating in this greenstone belt. We've got Alamos, Barrick is present in the area. We've got, West Dome, obviously. You can see our land package here in gold. So we're actually sandwiched between the Eagle River Mine and then the Mishi complex here that's also held by West Dome. And you can see there's just not a lot of, I would say, advanced exploration projects coming out of this district. So I think, we just sit in a really nice neighborhood. In terms of the geology or the simplified geology on the project itself, we cover a number of gold-bearing deformation zones. And I'll actually just highlight them from north to south for you on the map here, so you can kind of get a feel for each of our exploration areas. So we've got the Iron Lake Deformation Zone heading off into the northeast here. This hosts the Abbey Lake, and then the Mishi West exploration area kind of sits on the edge of it. So these are two very grassroots targets at this point. Really nice grab samples coming out of the last couple field seasons in these areas. So just, consistently working these areas, pushing them to drill readiness. Then we move down into the Mishi Bishu Deformation Zone. So this one here hosts the Mishi and past producing Magnacon mines. We have 7 kilometers of strike length of this deformation zone on our land package, which we call our Feather River exploration area. Really interesting magnetic signatures, grab samples out of here. Historic drill holes have sampled or been spot sampled, and the results have come back up to 20 grams per ton. Those were done in the 80s, really shallow holes, only drilled to about 60 meters depth. So an exciting area to continue to work on for us as well. Then we move down into the Mishi Creek Deformation Zone that hosts our Dorset area. So, where we're actively drilling right now. We've got the metrics of that historic resource from 2007, up in the top left here. So about 200,000 ounces at the 1.2 to 1.4 gram per ton point. Then we move down into the Banded Iron Formation gold zone or BIF gold zone. Brand new Angus discovery, as I mentioned, we've defined to 1 kilometer of strike length now. And then last, we have our Eagle River splay just to the south here. So, a splay of the Eagle River Deformation Zone that hosts West Dome's mine comes up onto our land package. And we've made a brand new gold discovery there in our inaugural drill program too. Just looking to continue to push that forward. Very early days down in that area. So we're concentrating on Dorset today. So to this point, basically what we've accomplished here, that historic resource area I was talking to you about is shown outlined in red, projected to surface. So it was about 750 meters of strike length at the time that we acquired the project. We have now more than doubled that strike length as of today, up to 2.1 kilometers of strike length. Early on, back in 2022 and 2021, we did some aggressive step outs, 500 meters on each side. You can see some of those results out here to the east and then out to the west as well. And since then, we've come back, done some infill drilling to prove that there's a continuous gold zone here. Our most exciting result was winter of 2024. So at that time, we were out here on this western section, the most western section that had been drilled at that point, and we intersected hole 136, 7 grams over 12 and a half meters. And we were like, wow, this is really a game changer for us in terms of grade. So we've continued to come back, try and continue to hit the zone. Last fall, we're able to come back with hole 167, so 2.3 over nearly 10 meters. Hole 171, 3 grams over nearly 14 meters. And then up until today, the last hole we had released was 179. So that was the 4 grams over nearly 10 meters. And then the first few holes of our winter program were stepping out from there. And so I'll just jump to the next slide here. That's basically what we're releasing today. So our first few holes of the winter program, continuing to hit this zone. So we've now defined 200 meters of strike length of this high-grade Dorset West zone, hosted in these metasedimentary rocks. So this mineralized corridor here, where the rest of the Dorset deposit sits is more in mafic metavolcanics, and as it moves out into these metasediments, we seem to get a rheologic contrast with the rocks. They're just behaving differently, and we're getting more regular quartz veining and a really high frequency of visible gold for us in comparison to the rest of our drill holes. So yeah, at this point now, hole 183 is our most western hole drilled, and that's where we've intersected this 15.6 grams over 3.5 meters, including a 40 gram per ton sample and an 80 gram per ton sample over about a half meter each. So basically the highlights of the intersection are here. And so, yeah, as I mentioned, just seeing visible gold in a more, regular intervals here in this drilling, really encouraging for us as we look to now basically move westward and see just how big Dorset can get. So at this point, I'll hand it back to Romeo for questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Breanne. That's fun. Appreciate all that additional context. I do have a number of questions for you, so I hope you're ready for a mild grilling, but it won't be too grim, I promise.
All right, let's see what we got.
Perfect. I know the press release this morning mentioned doubling the strike length of the Dorset West zone. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, what geological indicators gave you that confidence to pursue this westward expansion, and were there any challenges that investors might not be aware of to drilling in this area?
There's really no challenges drilling in this area. In fact, as we move westwards, we're actually getting closer to the haul road that goes down to the Eagle River mine. So logistically, it's actually becoming easier for us. And then, confidence in terms of pursuing the trend westwards. I think, so we've got the high definition airborne mag in this area, and the deformation zone is really clear, extending for about 2 kilometers westward. So we knew the deformation corridor, the structural corridor was there. And then, they're in outcrop. We did more detailed traversing in this area this past summer, knowing we'd had the 7 gram over 12 meter hit. And we were able to pick up repeated outcrops with shearing and quartz veining. So we knew that was there. And then there are a number of historic samples collected along this trend that had run anywhere from 0.5 grams per ton up to 8 grams per ton. So those are some great grab samples that had been collected. So I think, all these things factored into, hey, let's give this a go.
No, fun. Yeah, I just love finding out the reasons why people go places. So that's fun.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about visible gold. It's obviously sexy. It looks great in pictures. People love it. And I saw it in the 3 new drill holes. So I'm curious, how does this compare to what you've seen historically at the Dorset zone? And to you, what does this tell you about the continuity of the mineralization?
Yeah, so as I said, in Dorset West in particular, we're just seeing VG on the regular, which is new for us. We've seen visible gold kind of back in Dorset Main in a few holes. But it's really exciting for the geos in the core shack. And so I think, the trend as a whole definitely has higher grade pockets, but it's all within this continuous strike length of mineralization. And I think those two factors kind of go together to, begin to build something of size here. But obviously, we really believe that we've tapped into a larger pocket of definitely higher grade results here that are very shallow and near surface. So, we're excited about that we think, we've just found something new in terms of Dorset itself.
Great. Now, I know I had some questions. I do want to jump to a couple from the live chat just because they're right on target. So I just want to throw them out there. So Stephen asks, do you have any idea on the orientation of the higher grade mineralization? He wants to know if it's oblique to foliation and if the core is oriented.
Core is oriented. We do think it's slightly oblique, to the main foliation. And I think that was, back fall of last year. We were not completely sure on the orientation of the veins, but we do think, they're a little bit oblique to the main east-west trend. So that's where we're at. We're working right now. One of the goals for the geos logging in the core shack is to try and collect a suite of data that represents stretching lineations in the quartz veins. And once we have that collected, we will be looking to kind of plot that up on stereo nets and try and figure out, if there's a really obvious plunging feature that might match our interpretation on the remainder of the Dorset zone. So yeah, working on that now.
Great. He had a follow-up question too. Do you think the geological contact shown in the plan view has any influence on the higher grades you're seeing in this location along the trend?
I do a little bit, yeah. I think the mafic volcanics seem to, like, as anyone that's like looking at core would know, the mafic volcanics kind of deform more ductily in shear zones, whereas the metaseds seem to have like a bit more of a brittle component. And so I think they open up a little bit more favorably for the quartz veins. And so I think, yeah, just getting these really nice quartz veins with sharp contacts, I think plays a part in why we're seeing more visible gold. That being said, like, as we move away from the lithological contact and keep going west, I'm excited because we're staying in the metaseds. So I think, as long as everything holds true, this is really favorable to increase strike length in a setting that is looking to be higher grade.
Awesome. No, thank you. Stephen, hopefully that answers your questions. If you got more, please let me know. Now, I know your team intersected 15.6 grams per ton gold over 3.5 meters in the step-out hole. Mm-hmm. I'm curious how that grade compares to the historical Dorset resource, and what does it tell you about the Western extension generally?
Yeah, so I think, like I said, yeah, the grades I kind of mentioned there, hole 179, 136, like they're better grades than the rest of Dorset. And so I think, we're really working here to improve like the economic potential of the Dorset zone. And then, yeah, like again, moving closer to the road access is just, there's a few features here. And we're shallow. Like these intersections are at 110, 150 meters true depth. So just really all, moving in the favorable direction, I think, for economics.
That's great. I didn't realize further west was closer to the road. That's just good luck. That's great news.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
Now, I know you mentioned the mineralization is in quartz veins with the metased rock package. Mm-hmm. I'm curious how that setting compares to other successful gold deposits in the Wawa region. Like, is that typical? Is that unusual?
Yeah, so from all the reading I've done on the deposit types, like there's always like the gold vein component and the deformation zone component. So we have both of those features. And then there seems to always be kind of a competency contrast. So, you're looking at like a contact zone between rock types. So I think, in Eagle River, you've got this diorite unit or this plug or intrusive within the metavolcanics that surround it and the felsic and mafic volcanics. So that change in rock type creates, favorable, settings as shear, presents itself differently in different rock types. So yeah, we have those features as well. And then, if you look at the Mishi Magnacon trend specifically, I believe that is a contact between volcanics, and there's a metased contact in there as well. So similar setting just in terms of, quartz veining, we've got the deformation zone, and then we have the contact feature of different rock types going on for us as well.
Great. I know in the press release, you indicated that the area is completely open to the west with minimal historic drilling along the structural corridor for 2 kilometers. I think we've already been over why you think that corridor is so promising. But what I'd love to know is, why do you think it just received less attention historically?
Yeah, so there's less exposure in that area. So there's just not as many outcrops. And I think, just going back to the fact that the land package is underexplored, there were historic grab samples collected, like I said, over this trend, but Dorset Main is exposed at surface and there's large outcrops there. So it just logically makes sense. Okay, we collected a pretty good density of anomalous grab samples over the Dorset Main area. Let's focus on that. And then as they drilled east and west, there were offsets and it almost looked like it was pinching out. And so, I mean, for us, that was kind of the whole thesis behind picking up this project. We thought that Dorset had potential to grow and it just needed some reinterpretation work. But yeah, I think ultimately the lack of outcrop over the Western trend, or not lack, but just less than Dorset West, I think plays into it. And then, yeah, just again, going back to the area is underexplored. Like, you wouldn't believe it necessarily because the mine is just to the south, but it is. So, and we're just the lucky ones who, I guess, took a chance on it. So
Hey, always take luck. I have one question. How do the results, particularly the ones released this morning, influence your exploration strategy for the remainder of the 15,000 meters in 2025?
For sure. Yeah. So I think, I mean, it reinforces our focus on Dorset. We were planning about 8 to 10,000 meters on Dorset of the 15,000 meters that we are budgeting for. But I wouldn't say at this point it swings the pendulum a lot in terms of more meters to Dorset, because I think this is what we were hoping for and anticipating. This is what we planned for. We were, very optimistic, I think, about the fact that Dorset could grow. So we really allocated a good chunk of our meterage to Dorset and Dorset West. So yeah, I guess if we continue to see these results, maybe we change things a little bit. But in general, I think it was a good plan to start. So far, we're still sticking to our plan.
Great. That actually, it relates to a question. I think it sort of answers it, but I'll ask it anyway. A question written in by email from a shareholder in Wisconsin. They asked, do you plan to intensify the exploration work at Dorset West? Does it appear that such a shift could contribute to a positive feedback loop through finance and broadening of the exploration program? I know you just answered, but I don't know if you want to speak to that very specifically.
Yeah, I think for the year 2025, we were kind of really switching gears because we have in the past allocated more meters to our banded iron formation zone. But with the success we were seeing through 2024 at Dorset, that was kind of the anticipated program for 2025, really switching to focus on Dorset and hope for this, like you said in the question, the kind of positive feedback loop to play out. And I think that's what's happening.
Great. Two questions from Peter Napton in the chat. First one is, do you have any plans for an up-to-date MRE or PEA?
Right. So, at this point, the timeline for that is 2026. And especially, I think with these results that we're seeing, we would want all of our 2025 drilling to be able to be incorporated into anything new that we put out, since they are so much better in terms of the grade. So.
Awesome. And as a follow-up question, Peter asked, I think we've been over this a bit, but so I'll throw it to you. Do you intend to drill deeper?
So there's a couple holes at Dorset this year that we are looking to put in that are a bit deeper than our 250 meters true depth that we've tested up to. So there's this one hole that I've spoken to in the past that is a 2007 hole. It comes in at about 400 meters true depth. And one thing we're hoping to do is maybe test continuity to see if we can kind of extend down to that hole. If we can, I think that would be a great talking point, because that 400 meters true depth hole is still like 2.2 over 15 meters. So it's a great result. And I think the opportunity at depth is not one that we've talked about a lot, but it's so open still at depth. We've really just been concentrating on east and west because we've been having this, near surface success.
Nope, appreciate that very much. Here's a question that I have asked you before, but I'd like to know if this morning's news adjusts your interpretation at all. So you're between two producing Wesdome mines. I'm curious, what similarities or differences are you seeing between Golden Skies Geology and Eagle River and Mishi?
Yeah, so as I touched on, Eagle River is hosted within this diorite plug. The Mishi setting is the Mishi deformation zone, where you've got the lithological contact between the metaseds, I think, and the metavolcanics in through there. So we have those similar features. Though you look at our Biff Gold zone, that's unique because it's hosted in a banded iron formation. So overall, there's similarities, but I think each setting is a little bit unique. And what I take away from that is just the region in general is well endowed with gold. So it's not necessarily only going to be in one rock type, but if you can find a similar setting, shear zone, litho contact of some sort, I think it's worth exploring for sure.
Awesome. Now, I know you mentioned being fully funded for 2025's exploration budget. I know you said we're basically sticking to the plan, but I'm curious if you could share just priorities for capital allocation on different zones for the rest of this year.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe I'll break it down just in terms of meterage to each area, if that works for you. So at this point, I'll say 10,000 meters at Dorset. I feel like we'll up from the 8,000 definitely to the 10,000 with these results. Then we've got about 3,000 meters allocated at the Banded Iron Formation, and I'll say roughly 2,000 meters allocated to the Eagle River Splay area at this point. And then not a huge cost, but we'll still be running a field program this summer, kind of pushing some of those more grassroots areas forward, and just continuing with that, exploration upside aspect of the project too.
No, very helpful. Thank you. Now, this is a kind of one of those big questions, so I'd love to, take your time with it if you'd like. But beyond extending the known mineralization, what are the key questions that Angus is hoping to answer with 2025's drilling program?
Yeah, I think for us, really the mandate, when we met as a company in December was, let's really try to assess the potential of all our zones this year. So like we've touched on, growing Dorset was a goal, and that's why we had allocated so many meters to that area. We really believe in it. So outside of Dorset, again, returning to that Eagle River Splay exploration area to the south, we have the 2 initial holes that we've hit gold intersections in that are 700 meters apart. So testing the continuity there is definitely a goal, because I think that could be a game changer for us if we come back with something there. And then looking, I guess, to test also new trends within the Banded Iron Formation to see if there's a parallel gold trend is a goal for sure. And then kind of trying to round out the Banded Iron Formation. Like, yes, we've defined 1 kilometer of strike length there, but there's some great intersections that we just haven't followed up on, and reminding people that the spacing on that drilling on that 1 kilometer is quite broad. Like, we've only put I think it's like 12,000 meters in total into that 1 kilometer by 250 true depth. So it's not a lot of drilling for the size of the zone that we've defined. So I think those are kind of the main goals. But in general, it's just to really assess the project in a meaningful way this year, I think.
No, that's great. That's helpful. I always like to know, what the end goal, like what are you trying to solve with it? So I think that's a great answer. Couple of quickies from the chat. Wesley asks, we've been over it, but always good to reiterate. How many more meters this year are there for drilling?
So I think right now we're sitting at about 6,000 complete, just above 6,000 completed. Winter program was planned to be about 8,000. So as we come, through March, looking to complete end of March, we're on track for that. So then, what it'll be the remaining like meterage that we do at the Banded Iron Formation and the Eagle River Splay probably through the rest of the year. So that's what 5, 6, 7-ish remaining if we've completed 8 and we're looking to do 15.
More news to come. That's exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
And one question, this is one of those answer to the best of your ability. I know it's kind of a squirrely question that came in from TB. He asks, how close is your relationship with the Wesdom exec team, and are they a potential purchaser of Angus?
I mean, we have a technical committee set up with some of the executive team and some of the senior geos. So, I mean, we present to them quarterly, and then any time really they're looking for an update, we gladly give them that update. They also really, I think, in a lot of ways, help us with logistics at site. If we just as a smaller company, if we run into any issues, they're always there to help us solve problems. So I mean, like, I think the relationship's great. They obviously see value in the land package, having, purchased the 10% last year. So.
Awesome. Well, that runs through the end of my questions in the chat. Everybody who joined, thank you so much. I know there's a bunch of you in the room. Really appreciate your time and interest in asking questions. If you think of the perfect question to ask right after we close today, like I usually do, please do still send it in. I'll make sure that Breanne and the Angus team get it and get back to you as soon as possible. Breanne, thank you so much, but I'll leave it to you for a final word before we jump today.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for everyone's interest in the press release today. We're, like I said, just really excited about Dorset West, and these are literally the results from the first 3 holes of the program. So lots of pending assays still to come. Awesome.
Well, I'll be eager to talk about them with you when they pop up. So Breanne, thank you so much. Everybody in the room, thank you. This replay will be available by end of day. Everybody have a great afternoon.